Hey, hi, howdy. You may have seen the 501st Battle Pack Venator. You may have seen the duel on Mustafar Vader's Micro Fighter Castle. And you may have even seen the double Battle Pack Wombo Combo Razor Crest. But today, we have taken the trouble on Tatooine. And we have arrived upon Baby Yoda's or Grogu's Slave 1. Let's check it out. Two quick notes before we take a closer look at this build. One is that I've got some critiques in the past for using the extra parts that are included in sets in my alternate builds. So for this one, we took the extra pieces, we threw them out the window, and we only used the parts actually used for the original build of this set. So you can go straight from the original build to this. Even though the extra parts are included in the set, we didn't use them for your non-extra parting pleasure. The second thing is, yes, there will be full building instructions out sometime next week. I just want to make sure that they're actually followable, and that just takes a bit of time. With that, I don't think there's a better way to transition into the details behind the build other than a Mark Rober inspired build montage. Now, as you can hopefully see, here is the build in all of its glory atop a nice little display stand that I made with some of the leftover pieces, which I'll show you at the end how many parts are left over once this is actually built. First, I want to quickly go through my process of creating this, some of the features, and then the challenges that I faced when I was trying to create something like this with such limited pieces. Now, I actually started with what is probably the most exciting feature, which is the gravity-powered turning wings. Now, these are turning freely because the wings are just connected with a stick piece like this through a Technic hole, something like this, and then obviously it's free to turn. You can see that the sticks from either wing are connected on the inside to a Technic piece underneath Yoda's little satchel there, and that's how they're locked into place. Like I mentioned, the kind of holster saddle piece for Baby Yoda or Grogu is what's pinned on in there to keep these all moving in synchronization. This is where one of the first real challenges presented itself, and that was trying to balance these wings perfectly so that they would, operate properly like this. And you can see, depending on how it turns, sometimes it, flows better than others. You can see if I add an extra piece and if the weight is distributed just a little bit off, then it won't quite function properly. And yeah, getting that balance right was a real challenge at the start when I was putting this together. It meant I couldn't just build whatever wings looked good. I had to take the weight distribution and the spread of the pieces into consideration as well. Something that I was able to get together pretty quickly actually is this whole kind of extension into the body of the Slave 1. Now, this was pretty simple, got this together pretty quick with the shaping, simple slope and stuff, but once this was done and it was connected to what was really just a skeleton of this body, the real challenge was shaping all of this up. And from there, I really moved kind of in layers, so it's kind of hard to imagine, but imagine just a skeleton of the wing structure, this flat base, and then this whole part done. I had to work in layers to create the shaping of the ship. And this was super tough for two reasons, and obviously it's still not perfect. The slopes are kind of jagged, but with the limited pieces, I think it suffices. But yeah, obviously the Slave 1 itself, like the actual ship, is super slopey and curvy, and this was really hard to recreate, especially for two reasons. Lego blocks are just jagged and square and sharp by their nature, and beyond that I was only limited to the few slope pieces that are actually included in this set. So there's some of these small ones here, this long one, and then you can see I kind of had to get creative with the way that this slope is attached, some unconventional techniques to kind of round everything all out, and in the end I think it came out good. From there, I added the finishing touches such as these cannon pieces, which I hadn't done at the start, but obviously they're pretty simple single piece builds. And then, you know, like these little slopes and the window pieces kind of as accents for the build. Those all came at the end, as well as the round classic Slave 1 monkey face looking thruster pieces. As for that stand you saw in the beginning, it's a pretty simple design. And yes, I'll include the stand in the build video as well. And I like that I was able to put this stand together because, like I've said before, I really appreciate Lego sets and models like this a whole lot more when you can display them and see them and it looks all nice and isn't just sitting there like a turd or whatever. If you are interested, over here coming are all of the pieces I had left over. You can see there are quite a few. This bag was the extra pieces, which I made sure not to use to avoid complaints, to be frank. But yeah, so there are quite a few pieces left. None of the big major slopes or anything, because obviously most of those made it into the body of the Slave one here. But there's definitely enough there if you want to, you know, build something else for fun to go along with this. Maybe an opposing ship or something. Maybe you can even take this design and step it up a couple notches with the pieces that are left. And I encourage you to do that once the build video's up. You know, take this design and make it better, because I definitely don't think it's perfect, but I'm happy with what I arrived on, and I hope you are as well. With that all said, I do sincerely appreciate you checking this out. I hope you enjoyed the build and the model and the story behind it. Like I said, stick around next week if you want to see the full building instructions and how this went together piece by piece. And yeah, as always, have a wonderful day. Peace.